large twisting horns on the head, red eyes that barely show any emotion, hooves instead of hands reaching out for something, and a crown of oak leaves on the head. This is how Fransisco Goya depicted Satan in his goat form. A large animal with black fur all over its body and perfectly symmetrical twisted horns pointing towards a clear sky. The Witches Sabbath is one of the scariest and creepiest paintings ever made, and I don't think I need to explain why. There are faces that are contorted, features that make them look less of a human and more of something in possession. But then you start noticing the little things, and this painting becomes even more disturbing. Makes you question, why would anyone want to make something like this? Well, the story behind this painting is more interesting than the scene itself, which might sound like an overstatement, but just wait till the end of this video and you will know why. The depiction of Satan has been done so many times in paintings, movies, TV shows, and illustrations. Some artists have come very close to genuinely eliciting the feeling of fear by some depictions. For example, Lucifer by Franz von Stuck. So the point is that it is very difficult to produce something that can make you feel a bit worried. But not for Goya, who was kind of the expert in creating some very creepy paintings. Let's analyze the scene to understand what's going on here. If you're not familiar with the basics of witchcraft, well, don't worry, I can be your witch expert. These ladies here are supposedly witches and they have all gathered to offer something very personal to Satan. The setting of the scene is quite interesting. We have a clear sky with stars covering the canvas, and a crescent moon can also be seen on the top left corner. And that serves an important purpose. In witchcraft, crescent moons represent the time of new beginnings, perfect for carrying out all the rituals to get the most out of them. You can also notice some bats flying around here. We have the entire party of all the things associated with witchcraft. If only there was a black cat somewhere around. Now let's come to the faces of these women, and right off the bat, you can tell that there's something wrong. These women are quite old and experts have even suggested that they might have some developmental diseases, probably cretinism. But there's something more sinister hidden here. None of these women are at an age to give birth, but since they are all carrying babies, it is very likely that they have stolen them. I'll get to the babies in a second. This large goat Satan extends his left hand instead of the right hand to take the baby, but we don't really know what he's going to do with them. For sure nothing good, as you can see here. But the scene remains mysterious because we do not see the goat doing anything to the babies. In fact, he seems like a chill dude, just talking and appreciating the gifts. But oh dear, we do know what these witches are going to do to the babies. We can see the condition of these kids here and how they finally end up. This one seems very healthy, and perhaps why the goat is quite excited to have it. We have a bunch of other women sitting in the back holding their babies. It is important to note how the faces look here. The contorted, barely visible features are very effective in making you feel uncomfortable. In fact, this is a trick that Goya uses in many of his paintings, and it makes his work so powerful. Despite the lack of proper facial features, you can still understand the expression of these women. They are overjoyed and completely in awe in the presence of Mr. Satan here. This woman is even tearing up. I mean, if a goat floats your boat, fine, but what's the point of doing this to the children? The place these people have gathered is also a conundrum. By looking at the hills in the background and the surface in the foreground, it seems like they're in a remote place, far from any civilization. And that makes sense, as they cannot hold these group meetings in the town square. An interesting aspect of this painting is that Goya made another painting on the same topic. It is also titled Witches Sabbath, but it features a completely different art style. It was painted around 25 years after the original one that you are seeing here. Goya's art style evolved massively, and it was the black painting phase. The faces become more distorted, the smile becomes more sinister, and the humans lost even more qualities that made them look like humans. This painting requires a very close look because look at it. The crowd is huge and the faces are more defined, but somehow Goya has managed to make them even creepier. You can barely see the features of some people in the background. This is the same effect that we have seen in the previous painting. Humans are afraid of things that they do not understand properly, and this scene is something that we cannot understand properly. Here we see a lot of witches just looking at this figure. And notice how Goya removed the details that we find in this painting, and yet he managed to make the goat figure even scarier. Instead of showing his thick and luscious fur, Satan is wearing a black coat. You can see his single eye and an open mouth. Here, Satan is talking to the witches, and instead of seeing the admiration and love in their eyes, you see concern and fear. What is Satan telling them that is even making these people panic? The excellent use of monochromatic colors and the lack of any background adds to the effect. There's tension in the scene, almost as if Satan has asked something that is way too much even for these people. Also notice how the faces in the background sort of melt and mix into abstract figures. Giving people just shapes of the face instead of features is an excellent way of making the scene even graver. Goya made many paintings that danced around the same subject: witches, dark figures, goats, and some really bizarre things. This is a dog, by the way, and there is supposed to be a figure here just like this one, but the guy who was responsible for the restoration of this painting was a little irresponsible. He used wrong materials for the process and damaged the canvas quite a bit. Even this painting suffered a lot due to the restoration process. Now let's talk about the reason why Goya made this painting. From the looks of it, maybe he wanted to scare people and let them know how dangerous witches can be. You know, they just walk around at night, ready to snatch the babe from its cot. But the real reason behind making Witches Sabbath was quite the opposite. Goya was all for the scientific advancement of the society. He was actually tired of the wrong and frankly stupid idea of women being witches and meeting Satan at the late hour. This painting was actually made to show the absurdity of that idea. By making a giant goat sit in the middle wearing a crown made of oak leaves, Goya was confronting society's darkest superstitions. This painting was also a jibe at the Spanish Inquisition, which kind of made the idea of witchcraft more into the mainstream. This also led to the wrongful punishment of many women during the 17th century due to allegations of practicing witchcraft. Folks, witches and wizards only exist in stories. A goat is not going to stand up on its leg and start accepting gifts, and if it does that, you might be on some substances. This painting on the series of witchcraft had 5 more members: the Witch's Kitchen, the Bewitched Man, Witch's Flight, Don Juan and the Commendador, and the Incantation. All these paintings feature very similar scenes that can disturb anyone. Goya was an innovator, and many call him as the precursor to expressionism and even psychological art. His paintings focused on the human figure and the manifestations of our fears and superstition. Witches Sabbath is one of the most influential paintings of all time, and certainly the most influential in Goya's time. This is one of those paintings that requires a careful look and a deeper understanding of the scene. I consider it to be Goya's best work, right up there with Saturn devouring his own son and the lunatic. But he made hundreds of paintings in different styles, so maybe the spot of my favorite painting by Goya is still available. And here we are at the end of this video. If you liked the painting and my analysis of it, then why don't you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this? I'll be back with another interesting painting very soon. Till then, have a great day ahead.